Welcome back to Wichita Liberty TV. I'm Bob Weeks. If you've been reading the news, you probably know that Kansas Governor Sam Brownback has proposed increasing sin taxes as a way to raise additional revenues so that government can keep spending instead of cutting spending. I say, as Kansas considers raising additional revenue by raising the tax on tobacco and alcohol, let's declare the end to governmental labeling of vice as sin and people as sinners. Smoking cigarettes and drinking alcohol are vices, not sins. Yes, I know that some religions may label these activities as sins and the people who engage in them as sinners, and that's fine for them to do. But these vices, they harm no one except the person practicing them. Yes, I know that some say that alcohol fuels aggression in some people and that leads to harm to others. And if they really believe that line of reasoning, they should call for the prohibition of alcohol rather than the state to profiting even more from its sale. And we have some experience with how well prohibitions work, which is not very well at all. But say, if smoking and drinking are sinful, what does it say about the state of Kansas profiting from these activities? And what about the state having an even greater rooting interest in smoking and drinking so that there is even more money for state coffers? You know, at one time, gambling was illegal in Kansas. It was a sin, we were told. But then the state found it could profit from gambling, first through the lottery and now through full-service casinos. But gambling itself is still illegal unless the state controls it and profits from it. What constitutes sin, it seems, is in the eye of the beholder, or should I say, profiteer. By the way, Kansas has a statewide ban on smoking in public places except for the state-owned casinos. So much for the state's contention that smoking and secondhand smoke are hazardous to health and leading a life without sin. And like the general sales tax, these special sales or excise taxes are regressive, falling hardest on those least able to pay. If we feel sorry for those who drink or smoke, how about this? Let's offer them a good word or a hand up, not a kick in the teeth in the name of propping up state spending. And by the way, many of those who may vote for these higher taxes may have signed a pledge to not raise taxes. I wonder if we can place a tax on violating a pledge made to voters. And speaking of the Kansas Legislature, do you know how much legislators want you to be able to follow and observe the proceedings of the House and Senate? Well, the answer is not very much. Currently, the proceedings of the Kansas Senate and House of Representatives are not available on video. The audio is broadcast on the internet, but it's live only. No archiving. You must listen live or figure out some way to record it on your own. And it's possible to do this, but it's beyond what most people are probably able or willing to do. And given the sometimes unpredictable schedule of the legislature, you cannot simply set a timer to start at a certain time each day. Now, video of the proceedings of the House and Senate would be great. Even better would be archived video where a person does not have to watch live. But these options for video are expensive. I think the expenditure would be worthwhile, but there does not seem to be much desire to spend on this matter. But for $8 per month, the legislature could make its audio proceedings available to listen to at any time. For $8 per month, at least one podcast hosting company offers an unlimited plan, unlimited storage, and unlimited bandwidth. This is just what is needed. And since the audio of the proceedings of the House and Senate is already broadcast on the internet, it must pass through a computer somewhere. that computer could also be recording the audio. Once recorded, the process of uploading the audio to the podcast host is a trivial procedure. But neither Kansas Legislative Chamber records their proceedings, according to the Secretary of the Senate and the Chief Clerk of the House. I know because I asked. Recordings of sessions are not available because they are not made. There was some debate about this recently in the House of Representatives, and you would not believe what some members said in debate. Representative Dan Hawkins, he represents West Wichita, he said they already have transparency because there's streaming audio of the chamber. Now remember, streaming means a live broadcast, not something that you can listen to or view at any time. Well, how do I know Dan Hawkins said that? Well, there are several reporters and members who use the internet service Twitter prolifically. And based on this tweet by Stephen Caranda of Kansas Public Radio, we know the attitude of Representative Dan Hawkins of Wichita is disrespectful to Kansans who want to follow their legislature. It would be so simple to record audio of the Kansas House and Senate and make it available for anyone to listen to at any time. It is almost without cost, and it would have great benefit. But the Kansas legislature does not do this. Soon, the legislature will probably spend time debating whether to make the channel catfish the state fish of Kansas. Our legislators can do that, but they cannot spend $8 a month so that you can have podcasts of their proceedings. This is how much your legislative leaders respect you. This is how much they want you to know. I also have to let you know that the Kansas legislature's concern for your ability to follow the legislature is, well, it's worse than this. Because despite having a website with the capability, only about 1/3 of standing committees in the Kansas legislature are providing written testimony online. Now, if you testify before a committee of the Kansas legislature, I believe that all committees now require you to provide your testimony in electronic form like PDF or Microsoft Word. And sometimes testimony is given by writing only with no corresponding oral testimony. These electronic documents could be placed online before the committee hearing. Then anyone with a computer, tablet, or smartphone could have these documents available to them. This would be extremely useful for those who attend hearings. Often there is only a limited number of printed copies of testimony available, and not everyone gets a copy. Plus, with the testimony online, anyone could access these documents at any time. Of note, many organizations that regularly testify before the legislature, they may make their testimony available on their own websites. Examples include the Kansas Association of School Boards and the Kansas Policy Institute. Publishing testimony online would be an easy matter to accomplish and would be a great help to those following the legislature. It would cost very little or nothing. Some committees, about 1/3, already do this. Why don't the others?